Hi everybody, this is Joyce Barnes, and I told you I would do a short video for you to show you how to begin on your practice HTML webpage. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a practice webpage. First of all, when you open up Blackboard and go to assignments, we're working on week 2, and your computer might look a little bit different. But basically you're going to do the discussion board. You know, what are you going to do on your website? What's the purpose? Who will the audience be? What will the content be? How will people use my site? And it's good to actually write it out for yourself. Since you have to do 5 pages, what are you going to put on page 1, page 2, so on and so forth. The one thing I wanted to point out to you is this HTML tutorial. This is very, very important because it does give you a lot of basics and some practice information. So make sure that you definitely do this tutorial, and I'm going to show you that in a few minutes, and read chapters 3 and 4. But chapter 4 is all about HTML and what it is. Using Notepad, that's some exercises that you'll do from chapter 4. And then creating a basic home page and uploading it to the Coastal server. I'm going to kind of go through that right now. So first of all, what is HTML? Chapter 4 gives you some good background information, and it gives you a lot of details about HTML, but you should also complete the exercises on the www.3 schools. And let's see where that is. When you go to this w3schools.com, and I've put the link in Blackboard, you notice here on the page it says Home, Introduction, Getting Started, all about fonts, things like that. And it kind of explains what HTML is, and it gives you examples. And then, this is important, it says Try it yourself. So you can click on this button and it'll say Edit and Click Me. So instead of saying my first heading, you can actually put your name in there. My first paragraph, you can put something else in there. And then when you click it, it'll show you exactly, this is the coding that you used for this particular display. So that's really all HTML is. HTML tells the computer, tells the browser how to display the words that are between the tags. And you notice you have some basic tags. You have to start with HTML, you have to start with body, and this is heading 1, and then you have to close the heading. This is a paragraph tag, then you have to close the paragraph. Then you have to close the body, and then you have to close HTML. And as you go through this little tutorial, it shouldn't take you too long, and click on Try It Yourself and start learning HTML now. So when you go to that, it'll actually start taking you through the different chapters. What is HTML, and gives you all the details. And then when you do this and you try it, then you go to the next chapter, and so on and so forth. It doesn't take that long. It'll probably take you 30-40 minutes. Talks about editing and create your own test web, and it tells about naming pages, use your test web for learning. So there is really a lot of good information, and just go through all the chapters. And people have asked me, should they go through the advanced? You go through them all because they don't take that long, and then that way when you think, how do I do a link? You can actually go to this website, you can click on links, and it'll show you the links are found, blah blah blah, how to create links, and it'll show you some examples. Here is a link to a page on this website, and then here's a link that opens up to a link on the World Wide Web. So it'll show you how to set up those links. But go through the tutorial, go through the advanced. Some of the stuff you will never use for this class, but it's always good to just get a good background on it. HTML references, like say for instance you want to do a certain background color, so it'll show you how to do background colors. And it's always good to do the HTML quiz when you're done, and once you do that quiz it'll ask you all the questions. Start the HTML quiz, and then there's 20 questions, and what does HTML stand for, hypertext markup language, next, and then once you take the test, then it'll score you when you're done. So w3schools.com, and then you would just click on this HTML link, and again go through this site, and it'll answer a lot of your questions for you. The second thing people are asking me is, what is a website exactly? And basically a website is just a collection of files. You write the files in HTML, not necessarily using basic code. You can use something like Dreamweaver or FrontPage or some of the free web design programs that are out there. And then you take all those pages and all the pictures that you've used on the website, in the website coding, and you put them in a folder, and then you send them all over to the server that is going to host your website. And for you all, the server is going to be the Coastal server. Everybody has gotten space on the Coastal server. An important thing that I want to talk about is the first page, or the home page, of every single website is named index.html. I know it sounds kind of weird and it sounds kind of confusing, but that is how the browser knows to go to where to start. Where does the browser begin? If you have 20 pages, you know, and you have one page, be quiet. If you have one page called links and one page called photos and one page called home, the browser doesn't know that that page called home is home unless you name it index.html. So again, make sure that the first page that you create is going to be called index.html, and you go to the W3 Schools and you do this. You read chapter 4. You might have to read it a couple times to have it sink in, but right now we're just going to just do a basic home page that I'm going to post to the Coastal web server. Well, I'm not really going to post it, but I'm going to pretend like I'm posting it. So the first thing is to open up Notepad if you're using a PC. The reason you use Notepad is because Notepad is a very streamlined word processing system, meaning that it doesn't put any extraneous code when you're trying to create a website. So back in the old days when people were creating websites from scratch just using HTML code, they used Notepad. Again, now people use Dreamweaver and FrontPage. There's so many different programs out there. But on a PC, I went to the Start button, I went to Accessories, and down here is Notepad. Now if you have a Mac, there's something called Text Wrangler, and you can read about that on the sheet, but you'll be able to download that and use it on your Mac, or something that's just simple text. And the first thing I'm going to do is have everybody do an index.html page, just the basics. I don't care what's on it, I don't care if your name's on it or what information is on it, just so you get in the habit of putting some things on the page and showing you how to upload it to the server. So I'm cheating here because I already did some of this code before, and it's up here, setting up your page with the basics. So I'm just going to copy this. Copy, and I'm going to go back to my Notepad and I'm going to paste. Now you notice this is the basics of a page. You have the doc type. Read about that on the WW3 website. The doc type shows the browser what kind of HTML you're using. There's transitional, there's strict, there's other types. That's okay. But these first two lines, I'm going to make some spaces here. Spaces are meaningless, by the way, when you're doing code, because the browser only recognizes the code. So you can put spaces in just for your own satisfaction, just so you can see things better. But first you would type in this doc type, or you would copy and paste it onto your Notepad. Then you would type in the tag telling the browser that's going to be an HTML document. You're going to do the head. You're going to do a title. The title is what's going to show up here in the browser. So if your title says title of document, that's going to show up in the browser when I open it in a browser, title of document. So in my title, I'm just going to change this. Anything between these tags you can change to personalize it for yourself. I'm going to put Joyce Barnes home page. And so that's going to be the title of my document, but it's really not my title. Maybe I'll have a heading or something in there that's that's different. And after the title, then you have to do the and that's in the heading, that's at the beginning. And there's some other things. When you're advanced, you're going to put meta tags, and there's some other things you can put in your document to make it searchable on the internet. You know, how do you get 1,000,000 hits on your document? You put code words in there, so when people search for bicycle, you know, and you're writing about bicycles, it'll be right in your document, and they'll be able to find you out of 1,000,000. Then the next tag is body, and the sample is the content of the document. So I'm just going to put I'm going to just to show you what it's going to look like. I'm just going to leave that alone. My first heading, I'm going to just call it Living at the Beach. And you notice the tags here are heading 1, that's the largest heading. There's heading 2, which is a little smaller, heading 3. You'll read about that. My first paragraph, I'm just going to type this in. I'm just going to make it simple. Living at the beach is fun. So that's just a paragraph, just to show you what it's going to show up as. And here I'm putting in a link. Like, they use the example of www.3schools.com. You can do a link to any web page. Stop it. You can do a link to any web page whatsoever, and you would put in the whole entire link. So I think I'm just going to leave that in there, w3schools.com. This is a link. But say, for instance, if I wanted to put Google or Yahoo or YouTube or whatever, you would just fill that in. And whatever is in your quotation marks is the direct link, but then after that first caret, this is a link, is what's going to show up. This is what's going to show up on your page. And I've decided to put an image in mine. I found an image of flip-flops, and I just copied this right from the W3C page, and this is the code for an image. You put it in quotation marks, and you have to be exact. And again, file names should never have capitals, should never have spaces, should never have any kind of punctuation in them. Make sure they're all lowercase, make sure they're pretty short, make sure they're meaningful. And then I'm going to end the body, and I'm going to end the HTML. And I'm going to save this as, I need a new computer. I'm going to save this by going File, Save As, and this is where you're going to save it as an HTML document. And I'm going to call it index. And notice that my type down here says text document. I'm just going to change that to all files, and I'm going to type in my extension .html. Now, one of the important things I told you to do is create a folder that you're going to save all your files in. I did create a folder a little earlier, and I called it CSCI 101 Summer 11, and I've already selected that. And I'm going to save this index file in there, index.html. I'm going to save it. And now I want to see what it's going to look like in my browser. So in order to check it out in your browser, you have to open up a browser. We'll just minimize everything. So hope you're not sleeping yet. And I'm going to go to File, Open, and I'm going to browse for that particular file. And I went to my folder, and I'm going to click on Index, and I'm going to hit Open and hit OK. And why isn't it working? And it's working. Okay, this is what my website looks like so far, and you notice my picture didn't show up because I did not put that picture in the proper folder. The picture has to be in the same folder with your index. So, and if I click on this link, it'll go to the W3 Schools, but there's a way to do a link that it'll open up a new browser. There's a way to do a link so that it just opens up and leaves your page. It's up to you how you want to do it. Now that doesn't work because my picture's not in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that flip-flop picture. Here it is. And I'm going to copy it. And I put this folder that I'm using on my desktop. Open the folder. And I'm going to paste. And there's my flip-flop picture. So now I'm going to look at my website again. Here it is. And I'm going to refresh it. And there are my flip-flops. So a couple things. Always save your home page as index.html. Make sure your pictures and your pages are in the same folder. When you get advanced and you have lots of pages and lots of pictures, you can put pictures in another folder, and you would just have to refer to that particular folder. But just for the simplicity of your first website, this is it. And you notice that up here is my title, Joyce Barnes Homepage, and this is my basic web page. Now if I want to see the code for this page, or if I want to see the code for any page, you just click on View, Source, and here it is. It actually shows me my code. This way, if I have some kind of a error that I want to change, or if I want to copy this, or in the past many people have gone to pages they've really liked and then they've copied the code because they didn't know how to they couldn't figure out how to do it themselves, and then they've incorporated it into their own page. So I'm going to end this right for now, just to show you how I created my first page. I went to Notepad, I copied this information, which you'll have a copy of this so you can actually copy and paste it and play around with it and fill it in for you. I mentioned create a special folder, special rules for file names, lowercase, no spaces, no symbols, how to view your page in a browser. I showed you how to do that. And now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to publish, but I think this is enough talking for now. So I'm going to sign off for now, and part 2 is going to be how to publish that beautiful web page that you just created. Hope everybody's having a good night. 8:30 on Tuesday night. Anything good on TV tonight? I don't think so, but I promised I'd have a little demo, so this is what. So basically, I'm going to send you this also. I'll put it in Blackboard so you can see the step-by-step instructions, but sometimes seeing someone do it helps. So signing off for now. Open part 2 to see how to publish.